Hi guys, thanks for stopping by and watching this video. I'm going to do a quick overview of the bike after a couple of weeks of ownership. I'm going to pull over shortly a bit further on in a scenic place, and I'll talk a bit about the bike and give you my views and thoughts of what's gone through my mind over the last 2 weeks and how I'm getting on with the bike. Anyway guys, enjoy the ride later on after the overview, and I'll catch up with you when I park up. So guys, 2 weeks in with the Royal Enfield 650 Super Meteor. Having a whale of a time at the moment. We're just coming up to, check on the clock, just coming up to 500 kilometres, slightly shy of 500 kilometres. The initial run in, they specify you shouldn't really go over about 80-85 kph, and you should short shift through the gears, which I've pretty much done. I've gone over 80 a few times, but not by much. It's not been pushed. So I'm waiting to get to the 500 mark, and then we'll open her up a bit. Once you get to the 500 mark, 500 kilometres mark or 300 miles, you're pretty much okay really. The readings in the book then are quite good shifting through the gears. Still somewhat short shifted, you're not going to redline or anything, but you can certainly take it a lot further in each gear. And they're recommending a top speed of 130 kph, which is about 80 mile an hour. So highway speeds, motorway speeds, you keep up with traffic and even overtake. Yeah, so what are my thoughts? I'm really impressed with the bike. I've said that before. The build quality, the brakes are superb. It pulls up great. The rear brake is really effective, and a lot of people have said in comments on other videos that the reason behind the rear brake is, it would have been such a heavy bike, people tend to trail on the back and use the rear brake more than you would 70-30 use the brakes, which is pretty normal with most bikes. Most of the braking on the front, 70 and 30% on the back. I would say this bike, you can trail brake just with a rear brake. You can use the rear brake just to brake. It's very efficient, but I would say 50-50, or depending on what you do. And if you're coming into sharp bends, I tend to trail brake on the front brake a little bit just to drop the front end down and get rid of that steep brake. Yeah, looks are subjective. Some people like the look of the bike, the cruiser-esque look of it. Excuse me, swallowing flies. But from my point of view, looking at other models, I think this chassis and this configuration they'll use on the 650 Classic. I think they'll just change the seat configuration of the tank, and they'll probably use traditional forks on the front, and they'll have mid-set pegs, obviously. One thing I'm a bit still not 100% with are the forward pegs. They are very comfortable when you're riding. I would prefer them a little further back, not mid-mounted, but a little further back to this style of bike. I don't think it's a full-out, laid-out cruiser as such. The seat, again, very comfortable. But one gripe I've got with the seat, it's got a very high curve at the back that rises up, and it keeps you snug in that position. There's no wiggle room on there. When I'm on a long ride, I like to move around a bit. I'm 5'10", inside seam about 31 inches, and I've seen a lot of people 6 foot and over riding this, and they say, "Oh, it's super comfortable." I would think if you're very tall, you're going to be a bit cramped on this. Depend on how you put up with long periods with your hips and your knees or whatever. If I sit on the bike now, and get off the stand. I'll put one foot up. You know, I'm on top of the bars. I'm quite far forward, and I'm not at all stretched out for a forward peg position. It's neither one thing nor the other. And you know, I'm fairly bent. It's not a normal cruiser. You'd be out here somewhere. Certainly on my VL, it was a lot more laid out. So I think, in hindsight, it is a compact 650. The engine is super smooth. Saying that, second and third gear on change down can be a bit clunky on my bike. Maybe that's because it's not fully running yet and it's not had its first service, but certainly shifting down from fourth to third, even if you slow right down, there's a definite clunk into third and a definite clunk into second. Not so noticeable with a full face helmet with a lot of soundproofing, or even if you're wearing earbuds. But certainly if you're using an open face helmet and you've got wind noise as well, you're conscious of that clunking going down into third and second. Yeah, so the reach on the seat for me, I was saying before, what I prefer when I'm sat there, sometimes when I'm riding, I like to get back a bit. Well, you literally can't get back then. You can't stretch out. If you want to get further back and, you know, have a bit of a stretch, you're more or less sitting up on the top hump. Now, my VL Intruder that I had for many years, that had a huge saddle. It was almost like an armchair. But the thing about the saddle, it was fairly flat, so you could change position on it. Customizing this, I think some people will eventually put mid-set pegs on it, I would think. Obviously, we can see an hole that's tapped off here that probably is going to be for the Classic 650 to be mounted mid-peg. And all I think they'll do with the Classic 650, the fenders, front and rear will be different. Obviously, the exhaust will be different. And they'll just put a straight bench seat on and a different tank and standard forks on the front. So, I mean, even with this configuration that you've got on this bike, pretty much like the Continental GT and the Interceptor, they're pretty much the basic bike with a different tank and a different seat setup. I would imagine that people will be changing and swapping things around with this. I can see people putting a bench seat on here. I know that this is very high at the back, but I can see configurations for a bench seat going on this to make it a higher bike and not so laid down, and maybe not change the tank, but change the middle sets, the pegs and controls to mid controls. But yeah, all in all, it's there's not much you can say that's bad about the bike. A lot of people have mentioned the clock. Looking at a video of the Gold Star, the new BSA Gold Star, again made in India, the clocks on that are beautiful. It's got twin clocks, they really look the part. And I think the clocks on this, as has been said by many commentators on YouTube, the clocks could have been a little more retro looking. They're very plasticky. They've got this blue outer dial and a white inner dial, and from everything being high quality, steel everywhere, steel fenders, you've got these, to my mind, cheap plasticky looking clocks that spoil it somewhat, but you know, it's something you can live with. Yeah, I mean, another thing in the future, people are going to obviously change. You could put wire wheels on it, spoke wheels on it, and I've seen a few custom jobs done on these already where they've really swapped and changed the bike around and the exhaust, and they really sound super and really go really well. Yeah, so I'll get on with this ride. I'll clip it all together and I'll get it out to you later today. I still haven't done the second part of our trip to Aina and Riopar on the Suzuki V-Strom. That was a stupendous road, unbelievable. Some of the best roads I've ever ridden, and some of the best scenery I've ridden. And I'd like to get up that way on this bike and do some of them roads up there. Obviously, the wife's not keen because of the tiny rear pillion seat, and I'm not keen to put a city bar or a backrest on the back because I just think it's those aesthetics, like white with the screen on the front. I just think it looks ugly with the screen and the rear backrest and all the luggage and everything. I think it just clutters the bike up. Anyway, guys, I'll leave it there and we'll get on and twiddle around, and I'll put some video of my ride around the countryside. So guys, onward and upward. One thing I didn't mention in the talk just now when I had it on the tripod is things like this. Look at this on the exhaust manifolds. Obviously when you're lifting your foot up, a load of crud on there. Not so much, some more down here on the side at the bottom. So yeah, boots do tend to mark it and catch it, and I don't know how easy that's going to be to clean off. Obviously if it's warm it might come off easier, but we'll get some detergent on that after. This side's not too bad. Again, you can see a mark here on the side for the side stand, so it does mark up. So it's something you're going to have to deal with and clean after each ride. And the weight again, it's a heavy lump. Just manoeuvring it round here back and forwards, and 240 kilo. Yeah, it's a lump of a bike, but once it's moving, it's just like a scooter really. It's nice and light and nimble. Okay, on with the others, guys. So guys, we're back on the roads back down the mountain. This section of road is very curvy, lots of switchbacks, lots of really severe left and right hand bends. Road surface not so good. I've been down this route a few times in a few previous videos. And basically just to give you an idea of how the bike performs on handles, the engine braking is very good. I'm changing between 5th, 4th and 3rd on these bends, and just blipping the clutch to change down and using the engine braking to create a bit of braking on the bike, as well as a bit of trail braking as well. Yeah, she handles really well. It's not overly noticeable that you're on a large section rear tyre or front tyre, or that the bike is at all raked out in any way. Certainly if you trail brake on the front and you compress the front shocks a bit, it really does turn into the corner as well. So guys, you can hear the engine note. It's a superb engine note, stock on the bike as it is. I've yet to see what it's like once I take the snorkel off the airbox. And like I said in the previous video, I'm going to, just as a experiment if you like, I'm going to take the snorkel off and leave that off and just see what the induction's like. Let it run for 15 minutes or so to let the ECU calibrate, and just to see what sort of air induction noise they get off the bike, and if it breathes any better. And if it does, I'll probably get a K&N filter or whatever and change everything over to a new type filter. Anyway guys, I'll stop waffling now, let you enjoy the rest of this little zoom down the mountainside and some of the scenery. But yeah, like I said in the piece before when I had it on the tripod, really loving the bike. It's everything I thought it would be. The build quality is superb, handles and rides really well. A few little niggles from my point of view, but no bike's perfect. You're never going to find a perfect bike. There's always going to be something that you wish was slightly different. But for what we want, this along with the V-Strom now, we've got the perfect match, and both bikes are getting used equally. When I had the Himalayan, once with the V-Strom, it wasn't getting much on-road time. And again, the V-Strom 1500 LC wasn't getting used at all, it was just put to one side. So yeah, we pretty much got it right. And enjoy the rest of this ride, guys. There you go guys, I hope you enjoyed that quick toodle around some of the back lanes of where I live up in the mountains. I'm going to head back to our place now and try and get some of this crud off the exhaust and give it a clean, I think. So yeah, thanks for watching guys. Give me a thumbs up, give me a like, subscribe. I'm not doing this for any financial gain, it's not sponsored or anything in the videos, I'm just doing it to give you guys an insight to where I live and life up in the mountains of Spain, and obviously bikes and a bit of photography and videography. So give me a thumbs up, give me a like and subscribe. It just gives me a bit of more incentive to make more videos knowing you guys are watching and commenting. Again, thanks for watching, guys.